This is a being and becoming midday reset. Take a breath. For the next few minutes, let's clear the noise and find your focus again. You've just come out of a meeting. Maybe it ended 10 minutes ago, maybe an hour, but it's still with you in that particular way. Meetings stick around, taking up space in your head even after they're technically over. And somewhere in the middle of it, or maybe right at the end when someone said, "Let's circle back on that," you had the thought, the one that's almost rude to say out loud, this could have been an email. Not because you didn't want to be there, not because you don't care about the people in the room, but because something about the way the hour unfolded left you with the distinct feeling that the actual work, the deciding, the doing, the thinking that needed to happen didn't. And now it's afternoon, your task list is unchanged, and you're running on whatever focus you had left when you walked in. This is one of the most common and least examined drains on professional energy. Not the dramatic crises, not the impossible deadlines, but the slow leak of time spent in conversation that wasn't quite the right kind of conversation for what actually needed to happen. Here's what's worth understanding. That feeling, the one that says this could have been an email, is rarely about the meeting itself. It's a signal, a piece of information about the mismatch between what the situation required and what it got. Naming that mismatch clearly and understanding what it actually means is what gives you a foothold, not just for the rest of today, but for the meetings you'll call and the ones you'll accept going forward. There are really only two things a meeting can do that an email or document can't. The first is create real-time thinking together. The kind where one person says something, another person responds to it in the moment, and the combination produces an idea neither of them would have reached alone. This is genuinely valuable and genuinely hard to replicate in writing. It requires presence, the ability to read a face, to follow a thread before it disappears, to say, wait, what if we, and have someone catch it. When a meeting does this, it earns every minute it takes. The second is create alignment through shared experience. Sometimes the most important thing a group needs isn't information or a decision. It's the experience of being in the same space, hearing the same words at the same moment, seeing each other's reactions. There's something that happens when a team sits together and hears difficult news, or celebrates something real, or watches a leader say something unrehearsed and true. An email thread, however thorough, doesn't quite build that. Shared presence does. When a meeting provides that, it also earns its time. Everything else is the territory of the written word. Status updates that could be read in 2 minutes. Decisions that one person could make and announce. Information that doesn't benefit from discussion. Announcements that require no response. These aren't lesser things. They just belong to a different container. One that gives people the chance to read at their own pace, think before they reply, and engage when they're actually ready, rather than the moment the calendar tells them to. Reading is faster than listening. Writing forces a clarity that speaking often skips over. And there's something else that happens when you sit down to write the email instead of calling the meeting. You often discover the question is simpler than it seemed. You realize you only need one person's input, not 6. Or that you can make the decision yourself without convening a consensus. Or that the thing you thought required discussion resolves itself the moment you try to articulate it clearly. The meeting was being called for a problem that the act of writing dissolves. That's not a small thing. That's the whole argument. The meeting that should have been an email is the one that gathered people together to do something that didn't actually require gathering. The cost is larger than it looks. There's the hour on the calendar. Yes, but there's also the preparation time before, the recovery time after, the interrupted flow of everyone in the room, and something harder to measure, the slow erosion of confidence in future meeting invitations. When people come to expect that a meeting might not justify itself, they start arriving with one eye on their laptop before anything has even been said. The meeting was already lost before it began. A meeting that earns its time feels different from the inside. People are actually present. The conversation goes somewhere none of them could have predicted when they walked in. Someone says something that changes the frame entirely, and you can see it land on the faces around the table. That's the thing worth protecting. Not meetings in general, but that specific experience. It's worth protecting precisely because it's rare, and it becomes rarer every time a calendar gets filled with the other kind. The clearer question, the one worth carrying into the second half of your day, isn't whether that last meeting was good or bad. It's something more precise and more actionable. The measure is what this gathering would have needed to be worth the time it took. Real-time thinking together, or alignment that only shared presence could build. If neither of those was on the table, the format was probably wrong. That's not a criticism, it's a diagnosis. And a diagnosis points somewhere useful. The next time you're about to send a meeting invitation or accept one clear test steadies the decision. The work either requires real-time thinking together or it needs something that only shared presence can build. If either of those is true, the meeting earns its place. If neither is, there's almost certainly a sharper, kinder, more respectful way to move the work forward. One that costs less from everyone involved and probably gets to the answer faster. You can't get this morning's meeting back. That's fine. It happened, and there was probably something useful in it, even if the format was imperfect. What you can do is carry this forward lightly, not as a complaint, not as a campaign to eliminate meetings, but as a clearer sense of what you're saying yes to when you accept an hour with other people, and what you're asking of them when you request one. The people you work with are trying to get things done too. Their focus is as finite as yours. A meeting that earns its time is a gift. One that doesn't is a tax that everyone pays and no one quite says out loud. You know the difference. You felt it this morning. That feeling is useful. It's oriented. It points towards something specific and actionable. And now you have the language for it. The afternoon is still ahead. Your thinking is steady. You know what the work actually needs. That's enough to go on. That's your reset. Go make the rest of the day count, one well-chosen conversation at a time. And if you need another minute before you do, the music is here. Let it finish. There's no rush.